I'm Kara. I'm the Hill-Rom rep. I'm going to show you your Centrella 155 bed. We're going to go through some very basic how-tos. We're going to show you bed exit. We're going to show you some very general patient-specific comfort things also. We're going to talk about the surface. So let's get started. So on the Centrella 155, you guys have some very specific things that we've included to make sure your patients are comfortable. The surface, so much more comfortable. It is a non-powered pressure redistribution surface, so it will combat any kind of potential for your patients to develop pressure-related pressure sores. It does not have low air loss, so if your patients have incontinence, diaphoresis, any kind of moisture management issues, they will potentially need a low air loss surface, so keep that in mind. This surface is well, actually, I think I said it all. So next we're gonna just kind of dive into some of the things that we've added to this to make it a little bit more comfortable for the patient, including the urinal catheter or urinal holder here located on both side rails. So you have one on this side rail and on the other. You also have a patient storage area, and that is located here and here. We like to keep things close to the patient that they're gonna need throughout their stay, like their glasses, Kleenexes, their cell phone, things like that. And it also helps to cut down on them trying to reach outside of the bed and potentially fall. We have the two auxiliary plugins located down here at the frame of the bed. So if you wanted to plug in their charger so that their phone could rest in the little holder here, you can do that. But also SCD machines are great to be plugged in here. Instead of running the cord from the foot end of the bed all the way to the head of the bed, it actually reduces any kind of a tripping hazard. You're going to see bed indicators here. This is indicating the patient's positioning. We're going to want the hips to be in this area, and you're going to want obviously the lungs to be in about this area, especially as the patient's up and down in the bed. You have your CPR located here. As you can see, the handle tells you which direction to pull, so you're going to place your hands here and pull. It will dampen the head, and it will give one final beep when it's in its final positioning. You have 3 places for restraints. The first is down here. I'm sorry, the first is actually further down. The first is right here. For feet, you have arms or hands here, and then you have another one located here, and it looks like we have a restraint already. So that kind of is just a general overview of the the patient comfort aspects of this bed. As you kind of move up towards the head of the bed where the point of care controls are located, you're going to notice that a lot of these are very similar to the bed. I'm going to raise the bed up real fast. Are very similar to the buttons you currently have on your VersaCare bed. So you have the ups, the downs, and this is for the full bed. You have head, knee, and feet up and down. You also have trend, reverse trend, and a 1-button boost. 1-button boost, when you press and hold it, it's going to raise the bed to a safe working height. It's going to put the bed into Trendelenburg so that the patient can more easily move up in bed. So now at this point, I like to say, let's work smarter, not harder, and we can either shorten the bed and have the patient kick themselves up in bed, or they can use the headboard to then pull themselves up if they have good upper body strength. So I'm just going to, let's see. Oh, the next thing I was going to show you is your lockout function, which is located right here. Anything that is blinking is a lockable function. Let's say, for instance, I wanted to lock out the head of bed. I would press and hold at the same time. And this solid light is indicating that the bed is in a locked position. So I cannot raise or lower the head of bed. So to unlock, you're going to press and hold the lock and press and hold the static, and now you have full functionality of this bed. Head of bed up and down. So as we're continuing to talk here, you're going to probably notice that this screen is brand new addition. So on the left hand side, these are all information. This is all information about the bed. For instance, you have the head of bed angle. If you tap on the next 2 icons, it's identifying what those icons are and the status of them so that the bed exit alert is off and that the fully limit is also off. Across the top here, you have a battery indicator. It's telling us that the bed is full. The battery is full. So if you were to unplug this bed, take the patient to a procedure, you have backup battery, head up, head down. All of these features and functions work as well as the ability to lengthen and shorten the bed. You also have this question mark. This question mark is where a lot of information is housed. So if you forget anything that I might say during this tutorial, you can go into the question mark and tap, for instance, 0 bed, and it gives you pictures, but not only pictures, but also instructions on how to 0 the bed, and so on and so forth. So back at the home screen, we know we're at the home screen because this button is illuminated. You're going to see you also have a 30-degree head of bed angle limit. So if the head of bed's at 30 degrees, it prevents the patient from lowering their head of bed lower than 30 degrees. You have a chair position, a stand assist, which stand assist, when held, is going to put the position or the bed into position. It's going to raise the head up, lower the knees, so that the patient can simply pivot to get out of bed. This is also located on their pendant. This is the patient pendant, and it is located right directly next to that Hill-Rom sign. Sorry, I can't reach it. Thank you. So the patient can also achieve a stand assist button right here. You also can see that they have their head up, head down, so on and so forth. And then they have TV controls, light controls, and so on and so forth. What I'm also going to show you is that the bed is not plugged into the nurse call system, and we know that because this light is not illuminated. When the bed is plugged into the nurse call system, this light should illuminate, and you'll be, once I press that button to get my nurse, that button would beep here in the room and then would beep outside the room, go to the phones, go to the desk, so on and so forth. So we'll have to look into that. Please make sure though that your beds are plugged in so that your patients can reach you if they need you. I know you also have your pillow speakers, but having more ways of communicating is better than less. So let's go back to the screen here. You have the ability again to hit stand assist, to lengthen the bed and to shorten the bed. And that's the home screen. Second thing we have is your 3-mode bed exit. So you have 3 options, 3 different sensitivities for your patients. So the first one is changes position. You have moves towards edge of bed and has left the bed. So Rebecca, this is where I'm gonna need you to help me here if you can multitask. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to show you the 3-mode bed exit, but also the Safe View Plus lights. So as I sit in the bed, any weight is registered. You're going to notice that there are 3 lights that illuminate at the foot end of the bed. And these 3 lights are telling you bed status indicators, safety indicators about this bed. So over here to the very, very far, well, I guess your left, this is indicating that the side rails are up per protocol. So we set the protocol to be 2 head of bed. So if I were to lower one of those 2 head of bed, then you have a flashing amber light. Whenever I correct that light goes back to green. So now what you can do is, say for instance, based upon that patient's assessment, it makes more sense maybe for the 2 foot end of the side rails to be set instead of the 2 head of bed. We can go in, and I will show you this here in a few minutes, and we can change that in here in the settings. The middle light is indicating, and it's a blue light, this is indicating that the patient is not assessed as a fall risk. We use blue because we like to use green as a safety indicator, like a positive indicator, and we like to use orange as a universal caution color. So blue kind of indicates maybe not assessed to be a falls risk, so therefore neither green nor orange applies. So then over here, the last one we have is indicating that the bed is in its safest, lowest position. If I were to raise the bed up, you will see that it goes to blinking orange, again indicating that an action is needed. So I'm going to lower it back down. So we have 2 green lights and 1 blue. We're going to now say that I've been assessed as a falls risk patient. So Rebecca, I'm going to ask you to come here to the side rail and go ahead and set for me under the alarms tab the option that says has left the bed. And what it says is that it will alert only if the patient is completely out of bed. For me, we're going to assess that that's an okay setting and press OK. And that final beep indicates that the bed exit's on. You're also going to see that the light is green around the bed exit sign on the left-hand information sign or side. And then you're also going to see we have 3 green lights at the bottom of the bed. So we're starting an initiative, this Go Green initiative. So as you're walking past your patient's rooms or down the hallway, just make sure as you're walking up and down the hall that we're either identifying 2 green lights and 1 blue or 3 green lights based upon the patient's falls risk assessment. So it's really a culture to save everybody from falling, essentially. So now let's go back up here. So I'm going to go through 2 scenarios. This bed is equipped with an alarm silence button, which is located right here. So let's say, for instance, I am a patient who I use my call light and I say, Rebecca, I need to use the restroom. Rebecca, when you come in, you're going to press the alarm silence button to help me get up. Now what you're going to see is a countdown timer. So we can add more time. You have 5 minutes that you can add to it, or 1 minute. So Rebecca, go ahead and hit 5 minutes. Let's say, for instance, that this patient's maybe a little bit slower to get up and might need more time. Because if that countdown timer would have gone from 30 seconds back to 0 seconds, the bed would have automatically rearmed the bed exit. So add more time if the patient needs more time. You're also going to hear that triple beep, and then you're going to see this orange caution light, and then there's an orange caution light at the foot end of the bed. All of these things are telling you you have suppressed the bed exit, so do not leave the room without re-engaging the bed exit. Because again, if the patient gets up in this mode or in this state, the patient could potentially fall and the bed will not alert you. So I have my walker, I have my gait belt, so on and so forth. I can now stand. And I want you to see what happens here. As soon as my weight is removed from the bed, it says bed is waiting for the patient. We're still in suspension mode. So you're still gonna see the orange caution, and you're gonna still see the light down here at the foot end of the bed. That's orange caution. But now I can use the restroom. I can, go off the floor, take a test, or not take a test, pass with flying aces, go for a test, so on and so forth. And whenever I come back to the room, all I simply have to do is put my weight back into the bed, and the bed will automatically rearm the bed exit. And you'll see again, you have a green exit, or the green bed exit is illuminated, and you'll see at the foot end of the bed, the 3 green lights are illuminated again. You will know that your bed is in its safest positioning by those 3 green lights. So that's option number 1. That's proactive. That's when the patient alerts you that they need to get up, or maybe that they're slower, they need a little bit more help or a little bit more time to get up. You want to use the proactive bed exit alarm silence button. But now let's say, for instance, it's one of those emergency situations where a patient pops up without maybe asking for assistance, and I'm just gonna do that real fast, and I'm gonna stand up, and you're gonna hear lots of alarms, okay? So bear with me here. So I'm gonna stand up. You have your bed exit. You have your blinking light. Rebecca, you're gonna come in and just press the bed exit alarm silence. So very similar to the first time, you're gonna see bed waiting for patient, and then you're gonna see the caution orange light, and you're also gonna see the caution orange light at the foot end. And again, I can go off the floor, go for a walk, go use the restroom, but as soon as my weight comes back and is registered back in this bed, the bed automatically rearms, okay? Okay, so hopefully that makes perfect sense. So actually now I'm gonna have you turn off the bed exit so that I can get up and show the rest of the, so we're gonna go into the alarms, and then we're going to turn bed exit off. And you're gonna hit bed exit off again. Okay, all right, so then let me just real fast talk about the other 2. We demonstrated has left the bed, but let's talk for a second about changes position. So changes position, the patient has to be laying flat in the bed for this to be set. This will alarm if the patient sits up in bed or turns over in bed. It is very, very sensitive. The middle of the road, or the middle option here, says moves towards edge of bed. So if the bed senses the patient's weight moves towards the edge of the bed or the end of the bed exit will alarm. The one that we demonstrated has left the bed is the least sensitive option, so keep that in mind. I would recommend for the majority of your patients that it's either that you set it to moves towards edge of bed. Okay, so the next option on the right-hand side over here is our scale option. So you have a couple of options. You have weigh, and then you have 0. So you can see here that the last weight has been saved and the date and the time, and then the last 0. So of course we want to make sure that we 0 between each patient. I'm not going to do, there's a patient that is in this bed today, so we're not going to 0 anything, but we're going to walk through the motions. So for instance, if I go into 0, you have 2 options. You have re-0. So let's say, for instance, the patient's up in the chair and, I'm not sure what your tear weight is. So again, I'm not going to do this right now, but you can re-0 with all of the basic things like, I don't know if it's your telemetry monitoring, blankets, pillows, so on and so forth. You can re-0. Or say, for instance, this patient just gets discharged and you're expecting a new patient, you press new patient. This bed is a smart bed. There are so many data points that this bed can trend, like head of bed angle, patient weight, so on and so forth. It's important that we want to delete the previous patient from a new patient. So make sure that prior to a new admission coming to this bed, we press new patient, okay? So I'm gonna just go back. I don't know if oh shoot, wrong button. So the other option is weigh. So when we press weigh, it's going to kind of walk us through the things that we need to make sure the bed either one needs to be in the correct placement or move things off of the footboard, so on and so forth. And once you have acknowledged all of these items, you can press OK. And it's gonna say it's 0 pounds. The current weight is less than 0. Please 0 with the correct items on an empty bed. So it's identifying that no patient's in the bed and that it's less than the previous weight when the bed was 0'd. So again, we don't want to actually go through the steps because a patient is actually living in this bed during this admission. So those are the 2 options under the scale. And then last but not least, you have settings. So earlier we talked about the ability to go in and change the rail protocol. So if I hit bed features and then rail protocol, you can go in and you can set head rail for 2 up or for 1 head rail up. And then you can tap foot rails and you can identify whether or not you want 2 rails or 1 rail. So you have truly the power to go in and change those protocols based upon that patient assessment. So I'm going to just revert it back to what it was and hit accept. You also have what's called the Foley limit. Excuse me. If your patient has a Foley catheter, you have the option to go into the bed and turn on the Foley limit, which reduces the likelihood of the drainage bag to actually touch the floor. So the FDA is FDA is cracking down on when they do their inspections. They come in and they monitor how low the Foley bag is to the ground and how close it is to touching the floor. So when you have your Foley catheter, you're going to hang it on this blue bar and then you're going to set the Foley limit, and that keeps this foot in section of the bed from going so far so that the Foley catheter remains up off the ground. So I believe I've hit everything. Maybe the last thing I would say is if for any instance you need to know what the bed has on it, you have this bar down here located at the foot end that tells you the bed has SafeView. The max weight is 500 pounds. There's a scale. It has the Foley limit. It has Wi-Fi capable, which maybe one day we'll get there here. It just depends on your IT department. It has a foam surface, chair position, and auto nightlight. So anytime a patient gets up out of bed, you can kind of see the nightlight illuminating down here. That bed has that equipment. So if you're identifying a certain type of bed or a certain kind of surface, this will help you identify that bed easier. So if there's any questions after going through this demo, you could either get with Rebecca or you could get with Jen Carr, and they know how to get me. We have some documents that I've created that we've distributed. So any questions, just filter through them and we'll get them answered. So